Think of a Spider-Man game, any Spider-Man game, and I bet your first answer wasn't Enter Electro. Developed by Vicarious Visions, now known as, oh, hey, I know someone who once worked there.
Lizard.
The game is the sequel to the Neversoft classic. It often gets overlooked by the masses when talking about their favourite Spidey games, and I've often wondered why that is exactly. What was it about this game that made so many people forget it existed? Was it the lack of interesting villains compared to the first game's amazing selection? Or maybe the forgettable story that feels like a side plot rather than a grand story with stakes? Or perhaps it was something more than that. Maybe everyone treated this game more harshly than it deserved and have simply dismissed it as an inferior sequel to the most nostalgic Spider-Man game of all time. Enter Electro was a game that I didn't grow up with as a kid. In fact, I didn't even know about its existence until I started secondary school. And unlike Spider-Man PS1, the game that I played for hours on end, I've never done a full playthrough of this. Well, that's about to change. Let's do this. Well, that was incredibly mid. Yeah, I'll be honest, after playing through this game from start to finish, I can see why people tend to be mixed on it. It's far from being a bad game, and it has a lot of redeeming qualities, some that, in my opinion, were done better here than in the first game. But there's something about this game that I just think is very meh. And that's what we're here to find out. In this video, we're going to dissect the entirety of Enter Electro. We'll cover every single aspect of this game, such as the story, gameplay, level design, soundtrack, and see which one of these is the main reason why this game just misses the mark. And of course, we'll crack a few jokes, have a few laughs, and tell some fun development stories along the way. And speaking of stories, I know which section of the game we should talk about first. In my opinion, the most important part of any game and can make or break the entire package. Yes, I'm of course talking about the gameplay. If you played the first game, then you'll be delighted to know that Enter Electro's core gameplay remains largely the same. Square punches, circle kicks, triangle is your web attacks, and you can still use triangle and any of the D-pad buttons to perform different web attacks. Web ball, web dome, web gloves, and yes, even web yank. In my video on the first game, I explicitly stated that the web yank was the only web attack I had issues with. It just never registered the input when I tried it and would always result in Spider-Man just turning around and facing the camera. So I was pretty much expecting the same thing with Enter Electro, but I've gotta say, I didn't have the same problems this time. I'm not sure if this is because I got used to the input and what it requires from me, or if the mechanics have been fine-tuned, but yeah, the web yank was actually good this time. The movement controls are also relatively the same, and so is my opinion on them. Tank controls suck for this kind of game. Spider-Man doesn't turn and you have to awkwardly press the left and right buttons to get him to move. Best to just press down so he does a 180. I don't know what I was expecting from Enter Electro, but it seems like the developers just copy and pasted the gameplay, added a couple of new animations, made them graphics better.
That is bloody lovely.
And call it a day. It doesn't do anything to innovate the formula, and I can hear you now saying, well, if the first game wasn't broken, why fix it? Bro, if you want to pay for the same game again and nothing new be added, go and play a Call of Duty game. There could have been a new mechanic or an exciting feature that completely transformed the game, but instead all we got were just electric and ice web cartridges that are never explained. They just show up because it's a video game, I guess? You could have at least tried to fine-tune the movement and do away with the tank controls. The PS1 did have analog controllers, you know. This game's gameplay is what Miles Morales' gameplay is to Spider-Man PS4. Same overall concept with a few things added in that doesn't transform it immensely and make it a brand new experience. Honestly, if this was released today, it would be considered DLC, and that's not really a good label to have. However, that doesn't mean to say that the developers didn't have any new ideas. For better or for worse. Spider-Man PS1's levels were incredibly memorable for a number of different reasons. The first is the locations. City rooftops, inside a bank, the Daily Bugle, wherever Rhino's boss fight took place, the sewers, a waterfront warehouse, a facilities/lab, and a dance floor. The second is how different each one feels. One minute you'll be chasing Venom, the next you'll be fighting him in an alleyway, followed by swinging to sewer pipes, and then nope, get that off my screen right now! And the final reason is the level design itself. Boss fights with loads of things to keep an eye on or dodge, the levels taking you from one place to the next with something new at the other side.
Oh, poop.
They were all memorable, yes, even the subway level. For Electro, Vicarious Visions did try and stick to this formula, to varying results. Some levels are true standouts that I thoroughly enjoyed, like for example the level with the bomb and its 4 colour-coded keys. You have to run around the map looking for enemies to take out and reclaim the keys to defuse the bomb. Fail to find the keys, the timer reaches 0, and... well, that was the most anticlimactic explosion I've ever seen. The great thing about this in particular is that the enemies don't spawn in the same location, making each time you play this level a unique experience. How about another great level? In this one, you need to catch a train to learn more about what's going on. However, the Sandman is there to stop you by any means. Occasionally, as you chase the train, he'll stop you in your tracks by putting up this big massive sand wall that you'll have to quickly destroy. You'll have to use the nearby boxes and barrels to destroy the wall, whilst dodging Sandman who's constantly chasing after you. The level gives you a couple of options here. You could either temporarily take out Sandman to give you some breathing room, or you could try and dodge his attacks as best as you can and focus your attention on the walls. The choice is yours, and I love the freedom it gives. There are a lot of levels in Electro like this, and some are on par or even better than the first game. And then you have the other levels. They fucking suck. Okay, before I blast these levels for being my 13th reason, I just want to say that I appreciate Vicarious Visions for... trying. It's clear that they had a few ideas swimming around during development to make sure that every level felt different, whether that be with gameplay mechanics, enemies, or locations. It's just... they don't work for this game. Let's go over a few examples. Shocker's boss fight was the first level I came across that genuinely infuriated me. Shocker's gauntlets are too powerful, and you can't attack him head on. What the game tells you to do is yank boxes onto him and knock him out. There's a few problems with this almost immediately. The first is the fact that we have to use the web yank, and as you know, I love me some web yanks. Secondly, the boxes are never highlighted whilst you're trying to dodge Shocker's attacks. What you have to do is stop dead in your tracks and use L2 to find a box to use against him. But before you have time to get the web yank to work, Shocker is unleashing his 1-2 combo, and now you're dead. And to add on to that frustration, sometimes when you successfully yank the box, Shocker isn't even in the right spot for it to damage him. So all that time spent was pointless, and now he— oh come on, just fuck off already! Thirdly, Shocker's attacks happen way too often. There are times when this fucking yellow and brown cushion looking dickhead does up to 5 moves in a row. 5 in a row. He never gives you any breathing space for you to come up with a plan and is constantly breathing down your neck. And before you type that YouTube comment that I know you're doing now, yes, I know it's supposed to add tension in the fight, but I also feel like I can't do anything against Shocker and his rings of power. Finally, the camera. It's constantly fixed on Shocker, which, to be fair, does keep him in my line of sight all times, but it makes navigating my environment a fucking chore. So as you can see, the developers had some good ideas, but the game's mechanics couldn't allow it to feel as smooth as they probably would have wanted. Let's look at another example, shall we? In this level, you have to disable the force fields preventing you from advancing to the next stage. In order to do this, you'll have to go into 3 separate rooms and find the switch that turns off the force field. But it's not that easy. Each room will have a different challenge that you'll have to beat in order to unlock the switches. The first will have you destroy drone generators, the second will have you tricking laser turrets to shoot each other, and the third will have you raising the temperature in the room to scramble the drone's sensors, allowing you to get the switch. do these 3, bada boom, bada bing, you can move on. The thing is, whilst the first 2 are easy to understand and fairly straightforward, the third one was quite confusing. Okay, so as soon as you enter this room, Spider-Man tells you to head to the terminal. He states that we need to raise the heat to match his body temperature. Now, I'm no scientific expert, but I'm pretty sure that the average human cannot withstand 105, what I'm assuming is degrees. But this is a video game, so what the heck. But then I started to have a panic attack when I saw this red filter on my screen. So I ran out thinking I messed up, but eventually went back in only to realise that nothing was happening. So raising the heat to max is fine? Well, what about that scary red filter on my screen? I don't know about you, but in games I've played, whenever I see a red filter, my brain goes into holy shit, I'm going to fucking die mode. Again, they're trying something new with the levels, but it just doesn't work the way they probably intended for it to. But the one level that shows this off the best, or the worst I guess, is the fucking plane level. Without a doubt, the most insufferable, painful, annoying, hair-pulling level in the entire game. What you have to do is stop an out-of-control plane that has a pilot inside from crashing and blowing up. The plane is constantly on the move, and the hangar is littered with boxes and barrels that can damage it. So your first priority will be to remove them with your impact webbing. You also have to open the hangar doors so the plane can keep going, otherwise, yep, you guessed it, it blows up. You also have to use your webbing to clog up the plane's engines and eventually get it to stop. I bet you're looking at this and going, piece of cake, I can do this with my eyes closed. It looks so easy to do. Wrong! This level is pain. Pain, I say. Playing through this level was the most excruciatingly asinine thing that I've ever had the luxury of doing since my hands picked up the game controller. It's that bad. You know what? Fuck it, I'm gonna make another segment here. The 10 reasons why the plane level is the fucking worst. Number 1, the controls aren't great under this kind of pressure. They're not smooth and fluid as the developers were probably thinking, and it makes it so difficult. Number 2, you don't have that many web cartridges and you have to scavenge for more, except the area is so fucking big and they put them so far away from you, so you go over and lose precious minutes that could be spent stopping the plane. Number 3, these things, whatever they are, cannot be destroyed. My web balls track it like it's supposed to damage it, but it does fuck all and the plane is always damaged by them. Number 4, the plane is too fucking fast. If you focus on clearing the path first, you can turn around and find it breathing down your neck. Number 5, the plane turns when you take out one of the engines and easily blows up after giving the wall a little love tap. Yeah, I guess this is true in terms of aerodynamics, but it's really annoying and makes me want to go back to drinking full time. Number 6, the targeting system forces you to get close to the plane, but you only have so much time to web the engine before the plane hits you and you get soft locked. Number 7, this flap makes it look like you can stop the plane turning if you web it, but that isn't the case. So what's the point of having developers coding the tracking for such a pointless thing? Number 8, why couldn't Spider-Man just jump on the plane and get the pilot out of there? There's gotta be an easier way for him to save this guy instead of torturing the players who bought this game over and over again. Hey, wait a second, he does exactly this in the end cutscene. What gives? Why did you put me through that? Was it for your own amusement, you sick fuck? Number 9, the fact I have to get jump scared by this Daily Bugle news article every time I fail the mission. And finally, number 10, this cringy joke.
Quick, Spider Lad, you stop the plane and I'll get the bad guys. Oh wait, I don't have a sidekick.
So in conclusion, plane level bad. But I'll tell you what isn't bad. The story. Instead, it's painfully mid. I'm not going to sit here and pretend like Spider-Man PS1's story was absolute cinema, but it had a certain charm to it. It had everything that made a good comic book story. A likable hero, great side characters, memorable villains, awesome cameos, and the greatest scene in the history of gaming. It was everything that a corny Spider-Man story should be. So naturally, going into Enter Electro, I was expecting something similar that carried over the same tone and witty writing. But the more I played it, the more I felt bored. Nothing was grabbing me the same way the first game did. The writing wasn't getting me, the villains weren't entertaining, and the whole plot was boring. Let's start from the beginning. The game opens with our main villain Electro easily walking into a building and takes out this security guard, Dr. Connors, who will be important later, and this woman. Oh come on, you had so much time to at least try and run away, you lazy bitch. Electro steals the device and downloads more information about said device from a conveniently placed terminal. Security arrives, Electro puts on his mask even though everyone has already seen his face, and escapes with the device. Alright, so as far as intros go, this one was pretty decent. It shows off our main villain, a MacGuffin, and has a mysterious, creepy tone all throughout. Does it beat Spider-Man PS1's intro? Fuck no. But it's not trying to. It's just here to provide you with a setup for the game's plot, and that's it. It does its job, but at the same time, I wish there was more. Like, what about some more dialogue, or maybe another villain helping out to establish some of the other bad guys we'll be encountering? I don't hate it, I just wanted more. So, 6 slow turning lady in a chair out of 10? The next level is the standard tutorial level featuring the blue furry X-Man Beast, the game's one and only cameo in the story. Yeah, I'm being serious. Oh, what's that? You were expecting there to be more cameos? Like, oh, I don't know, anyone else in the Marvel universe? Nope, it's just Beast. No disrespect to Beast, I like him. I just wanted more. It makes the world feel so small. And before you say in the comments, no, Rogue and Professor X do not count. They're in the training mode only. Shut up. Anyways, after we have our tutorial, we detect trouble afoot, as some goons and a mysterious figure that I definitely didn't spoil earlier blow up a building. The figure makes off with a suitcase, but not before we throw a tracker on his motorbike. We then take out his goons on the— oh my god, we're on the streets. Finally, no more toxic yellow clouds stopping us from touching the amazingly clean New York streets. I wonder if we'll see a hobo along the way. Once all the goons have been defeated, we head to the rooftops to track down that mysterious figure. And after swinging from one building to another, fighting off really fruity looking mercenaries and their machine gun turrets, a bit overkill, don't you think, guys? We track them down to a warehouse filled with, yep, of course, more bad guys. Spider-Man beats them all and interrogates one of them for more information. He mentions something about an airfield and we let him down before Shocker comes in to have a scrap with us. Spider-Man beats Shocker, escapes the warehouse before it explodes, hands him over to the police, and then makes his way over to the airfield. Before we move on, once again we have to choose a name in order to save. Considering my name got smacked last time for being so crude, I thought I'd appeal to the gods and go with something safe. So, hello, my name is... As we're swinging on by, we get rudely shot at with an RPG? Jeez, I see Electro isn't messing around this time. We go into the bomb level I mentioned earlier and quickly disable it before moving on to the airfield. Arriving at the airfield, we see a new mysterious figure holding a similar looking briefcase to the one that Shocker had earlier. We take out some turrets to make sure the cops don't get blown to pieces before heading inside to start— oh yay, it's my favourite level. Before we torture ourselves with that plane level, we throw a spider tracer onto the mysterious figure's helicopter so we can track him later. Half an hour goes by and my alcoholism has returned, but we finally save the pilot and begin to track down the helicopter. The tracker takes us to a train yard where the figure is currently making his escape. After flipping a bunch of switches, we finally reach the train and see the figure being handed another case by another mysterious figure, who just fucking melts out of nowhere. No, it turns out that this is the Sandman, and it's also here where we play the catch the train level I mentioned earlier. Once we catch the train, Spider-Man searches through it and finds out that the mysterious figure is the Beetle, one of his most underrated and overlooked villains. He has a mechanised armoured suit that can fly and has lasers that you can see him use here to escape the train. Wait, what? Well, Spider-Man could have easily stopped him in a number of ways. But hey, look! The dumbass left his trench coat behind with another clue. Cut to the next scene where Electro explains that the device he has stolen, which is labelled the BioNexus device, converts a person's energy into electrical power. He aims to use the device to essentially open his third eye and become all powerful. Electro has hired the supervillains to gather more parts of the device, and thanks to them, it's now complete. The only thing missing is its power source. The chief scientist, Dr. Watts, knows where the power source is, and locating her is the next thing on the villain's to-do list. Spider-Man attends the ball the Beetle was invited to and sees that Hammerhead's goons have already broken in and taken hostages. We take them out, save the hostages, and then come face to face with Hammerhead himself. Dr. Watts makes a run for it, Hammerhead orders his men to chase her, but stops us from following them and starts to fight us. We deal with Hammerhead and chase after Dr. Watts, only to find that she's been kidnapped by the Sandman. With no idea what to do now, Spider-Man suddenly remembers that the Doctor works with Dr. Connors, the one-armed man that got murked at the beginning of the game, and decides to give him a quick call. But oh no, it looks like the good Doctor has transformed into the Lizard once again, because sure, why not? And we rush to save him. We infiltrate Umbrella Labs, Biotech, and make our way over to Dr. Connors' lab. After some painful levels filled with drones, electricity, force fields, and more drones, we finally reach Connors' lab to find out what's happened to him and jump scare! Spider-Man quickly synthesizes a cure, administers it to Connors, and restores him back to factory settings. Connors explains what the BioNexus device is, but doesn't have the answers we're looking for, so we head over to Dr. Watts' lab. After fighting more drones, lasers, and more drones, we reach the Doctor's lab, where it's revealed that the device's power source is sapphires? What? Glad to see the writers have taken notes from Batman and Robin of all things. Before we can learn any more, Sandman drops by to spoil our fun and throws us out of the window. In return, Spider-Man gives him a nice shower and he slithers away. We evade security and happen upon a newspaper that explains a big sapphire is on show in a museum which would easily power the device. A henchman of all people discovers the news about the sapphire and tells Electro about it. I do hope he got a promotion after that act of sheer loyalty, his family could use the extra money. Spider-Man heads to the museum to find Electro, who is just standing there. He looks like a kid waiting for his mum to pick him up from school. Electro runs away with the Doctor and leaves Spider-Man to fight some samurai robots. We take them out, use them to destroy the generator, and follow Electro. We finally catch up to Electro, beat him down, and knock him into the next room. We catch the Sapphire, but Electro has the Doctor and is threatening to electrocute her. They agree on the trade, but Spidey attempts to catch the Sapphire with his web.
Checkmate.
Electro plugs the Sapphire into the BioNexus device and becomes Hyper Electro, completing his goals. Spider-Man gets knocked out but comes to later and chases after Electro to a really strange looking building. Wait, why does it look like that? Is there a reason? Oh no, this took a dark turn. Let's just forget we saw that and just move on. After a long, tough battle, Spider-Man beats Hyper Electro, stopping his evil plans. As usual, the Daily Bugle gives no credit to Spidey, and he swings away as depressed as ever. Electro, Hammerhead, and Shocker are all locked up in jail, and we see that they are right next door to the villains from the first game. Fade to black, the end. Hello there, this is Editing Gamer-Pinion here. I just want to say there's actually a little bit more to the story that has literally just been revealed. So a couple of months ago, I believe, there was a picture going around where it showed that the mighty Thor was actually in Spider-Man Enter Electro, and it was actually available on a website that was circulating around the time of the game's release. But no one had any idea what this is. Until now, because someone has literally found the video containing Thor on a hard drive somewhere. Yeah, so here's how the game should have ended. Yeah, just watch.
If I don't dispose of them, some other goon will make a try for it. Next time, it could be Ultron, or someone even heavier. First things first, though. Now what's this all about? I've already beaten the bad guy and saved the day.
By mine enchanted Uru Malat Mjolnir, I sense disturbances in the Furies that are the providence of the noble son of Asgard and none other.
Hi, Thor. Nice of you to show up. Little late, though.
Spider-Man, surely thou doth not possess power enow to make the very heavens shake as they did?
Not me. He doth. I mean, or did.
Once again, thou hast proven thine mettle as a warrior born. Fare thee well, webbed one.
Thanks for the cameo, though, really. Thunder gods. Huh? Oh, thanks! Hey, a little warning next time would be nice. You're not looking so hot, Electro.
You're probably wondering why this might have been cut. I think it was probably to do with the World Trade Center stuff that we discussed earlier. Again, we're not going to talk about that, so enjoy the video. So that's Enter Electro's plot, and I don't know about you, but I feel a tad disappointed. I don't know what I was really expecting. Was I wanting to have a story that felt similar but different to the first game? Because it kind of felt like that. It has a plethora of villains, a crazy plot, a lot of different kinds of levels in different settings, and some good old corny comic book dialogue.
Three magical keys!
Well, there's a number of factors at play. The first was simply that the story is not that engaging. I didn't really feel like what Spider-Man was up against was all that threatening. Oh no, Electro wants more power or something, we gotta stop him, whatever. There were no stakes. Spider-Man wasn't up against a wall all the time and racing around like a madman trying to stop Electro. In fact, if you think about it, Spider-Man always conveniently finds the next piece of the puzzle and easily slides his way into the next step of Electro's plan. Like, I can just imagine one of the writers' rooms being like, we need Spider-Man to figure out where the jewel is being kept so he can have his final showdown with Sparky Fingers. Any ideas, boys? Yep, I've got it. Let's have a newspaper article right in front of him. Oh, genius. Give this man a raise right now. Good show. The second thing is the lack of charm. It has a much more serious tone this time around. But as a result, we're losing some of that comic book flair and colour that the first game oozed. I get they were trying to do something different, and I hate to keep comparing the two games, but we really went backwards here. It traded in the lovable charm, humour and colour that people loved from the first game and replaced it with, well, nothing. They just sucked it all out and called it a day. Lastly, the villains. Electro is a boring villain. There, I said it. Every single Electro story I see is just him wanting more power or him being a cocky goon. Some writers do try and give him some depth, which can result in a few interesting takes. Or on the other hand, you end up with, oh, no, get that off my screen right now. I'm not going to pretend like Doc Ock was a Shakespearean villain in the first game, but he was memorable and he had a plan that made sense with some stakes to boot. Electro has none of this. I guess it doesn't help when you sound like this, too. But I do like some of the other villains. Sandman is the venom of this game, constantly a threat when he shows up, always tries to stop you. He was a great addition. Hammerhead, Shocker and Lizard were good for the short time we saw them, albeit I do wish they had more to do than just be cannon fodder for Electro's big plan. But hey, at least they had some good boss fights. Right? Enter Electro has 6 boss fights in total, which we will now go over in order of appearance and rank once again on the tier list you see in front of you. We've covered Shocker already. His boss fight is average at best. Frustrating mechanics and Shocker's attacks that can sometimes tally up to 5 in a row really ruins this fight for me. Although, after a while, I did realise that I can just web yank him and throw boxes at him, so yeah. Shocker is in the C tier. Next up, we have Hammerhead. I like this one. He can't be attacked with webs or punches whilst he has his Tommy gun. You could either web yank his gun away, leaving him open for you to attack him, or bait him into hitting a wall, which is a lot harder to pull off. Later in the second stage, you do have a helicopter that can shoot at you, but I think the pilot might have been drunk because he didn't get me at all. Overall, there's not that much to Hammerhead's fight. Once you figure out a pattern, it's fairly easy to beat him. He surprisingly goes down within a couple of hits, more if you have web gloves on. Let's put Hammerhead's fight in the B tier. Next up was the one that I was looking forward to the most, the Lizard. If you've watched my video on the first game, then you'll know that the Lizard was originally supposed to get a boss fight, but was cut at the last minute. Vicarious Visions saw his potential and have finally included his boss fight in this game. Unfortunately, it's quite mid. The fight will have you running around the level, finding the web cartridges with the antidote, shooting the lizard with them to weaken him, punch him for a bit, repeat a couple of times, and you're done. Whoopee! Lizard also doesn't let up at all throughout this fight either. He is constantly pursuing you and has a lot of different attacks. The downside is that his attacks are so fast and frequent that he can sometimes stunlock you, barely giving you a chance to even stand up. Come on man, you're making Shocker's bullshit spam look tolerable right now. I'm a bit disappointed with Lizard's fight, I'm not gonna lie. So unfortunately, I think the only right tier for this one is the C tier. Next up, we have Sandman. The basic concept of his fight is quite similar to Lizard's. Turn on the water, get a minute to weaken him, punch him a few times, level complete. The reason why I prefer this to Lizard's fight is because of the fact that you have to bait him into the water. It adds great tension and a little bit of strategy. It's not amazing, but it's better than Lizard's in every way. B tier. Electro is the penultimate boss and is the best one out of all 6 of these fights. He's in the middle of this Moonlander exhibit and you'll have to jump up and hit him for a bit before he pushes you away with this area of effect attack. However, he's constantly throwing all sorts of attacks at you, like lightning bolts, lasers that protect him, objects he can control, and worst of all, opening up the trapdoor to the abyss. This one will be the only one in my opinion to go into A tier. Finally, Hyper Electro. You have to switch these power couplings on and then trick Hyper Electro to zap them to nullify his powers, leaving him open for you to whack him. He can show up randomly, leave electric mines everywhere, which definitely aren't annoying, and has a damaging area of effect attack. It's a simple fight and is a decent final boss. I really don't have that much to say about it. B tier. So overall, we have a fair selection of boss fights. Some were pretty good and others were a tad disappointing. However, I can't help but feel like we maybe should have got one more. Was there someone that we missed? Oh, I can't remember. Oh, yeah, the Beetle. Despite him showing up in multiple cutscenes and assisting in Electro's plan, you only get to fully interact with the Beetle once. In fact, he sort of disappears from the game entirely after this. Almost like the developers forgot he was even in this to begin with. And I always found that to be quite odd. He doesn't get a boss fight, his own spot in the character viewer, or even get arrested by the end of the game. I tried to look for a reason as to why this was the case, and whilst I couldn't get a definitive answer, the closest I could get was an interview with game designer Karthik Bala on the YouTube channel Anganoff. In the video, Bala stated that Beetle was going to have a boss fight, but it got cut. However, it was supposed to be in a level that is actually in the final game. Can you guess what that level is? That's right, it's the fucking plane level. So wait, hold on. Let me get this straight. You're telling me that I could have had a boss fight with an insect-looking Iron Man, but instead you gave me the equivalent of being beaten with a sledgehammer for half an hour. I hope someone gets arrested for this. You know, I think up until now, we've had a very mixed bag of opinions. So why don't we go over something that I think the game does really well? Let's talk about the music. I really like Enter Electro's music. That's it, it's good. Composed this time by Todd Maston, it substitutes the metal from Spider-Man PS1 soundtrack for dark electronic beats. Wonder why he went in that direction. The first game easily had the more memorable tracks, but Enter Electro also has a good selection. And much like my last video, I'm going to go over some of my favourites from the soundtrack. Take a listen to these. Alright, before we wrap this up, there's one final aspect of the game that we need to go over. Let's talk about the extra goodies. Pretty much all extra content from the first game returns. Unlockable costumes, challenge modes, collectible comics, and the infamous What If mode all make a return. Some of these have been improved, whilst others are quite disappointing. Let's start with quite possibly the best extra content in the game. Unlockable suits. Not only do all of the suits from the first game return, but Vicarious Visions added a further 8 new suits. These include Spider-Man's alter identities Prodigy and Dusk, to the incredibly powerful Spider-Phoenix, to the Alex Ross costume that was made and even tested for the first Sam Raimi Spider-Man movie. Like the first game, each suit comes with its own powers and abilities, which can either benefit you or give you significant drawbacks. You've got incredibly helpful powers like invulnerability and unlimited webbing that make the hardest levels an absolute walk in the park. Or if you want a challenge, you can limit yourself to only being able to have 2 web cartridges, if you want to torture yourself even more with that fucking plane level. However, the best new feature the devs added is Create a Spider. This mode allows you to pick any unlocked suit and customize it with up to 3 powers. You could make some absolutely crazy combinations with this. Want to play as a Spider-Man who doesn't care about his secret identity and is an absolute tank? You can do that. Or how about playing as a Spider-Man whose symbiote is currently having some performance issues and can't produce enough webbing? The training and challenge modes have also seen a few changes. There's 3 options. Training Session is the first one, and sees you being taught the ropes by Professor X and Rogue, and is the only time that you see them. Oh sure, so these two get their own character bio, but Beetle doesn't? Make it make sense. The second is Challenge Session. The second is Challenge Session. The second is Challenge Session. It sounds... The second is Challenge Session. It sounds so horrible. Challenge Session. Challenge Session. Challenge Session. The second is Challenge Session. You basically do the exact same training, but this time you're under a timer that goes onto a leaderboard. Then finally, there's Instant Action, where you can fight as many thugs as possible, and that's about it. So yeah, a bit of a downgrade from the last game if you ask me. No item collection, target practice, or any form of replayability besides from beating your high score. I'm not going to sit here and act like the previous game's training mode was amazing, but at least it was varied and had cool stuff to find. Finally, the other piece of extra content I want to talk about is the What If mode, or as it should be called in this game, Bananas! Enter Electro's What If mode is a significant downgrade from the previous games. Yeah, there's some funny moments and silly things thrown in, but it didn't feel like it warranted a second playthrough. Neversoft literally threw so many ideas and stupid things at the wall that they all became memorable. Miniok, Kid Carnage, the blimp with Silver Surfer, the guy in the submarine you have to race. It was like someone had smoked a bunch of the good kush and just wrote down all of the batshit insane thoughts in their head. Vicarious Visions looked at the What If mode and just went, you know what we can do here? Bananas! Okay, I think we're done here. It's time to wrap everything up. So, we're at the end, and I just want to say, if you're still around, thanks for sticking by. We've covered everything that Enter Electro has to offer. The story, music, level design, gameplay, extra content, boss fights, and the fucking plane level. Each one of these aspects of the game have their own pros and cons, and on some occasions even do things better than the goated first game. But some drag the experience down to the point where it transforms it into a middling experience. So there's only one thing left to ask. Which of these aspects make Enter Electro an inferior game compared to the first? Well, to be honest with you, and this is going to disappoint some of you, it's actually all of them. Everything in this game is a disappointing downgrade from the first. The story does not have an exciting plot, no cameos from any Marvel characters besides from Beast, and it goes from one scene to the other due to convenience rather than flowing naturally. The gameplay has not changed or evolved besides from a few fancy new animations and different enemy types. The level design goes from really fun and memorable to infuriating and confusing in a matter of seconds. The boss fights are mostly mid with a few shining out from the crowd, which in this case doesn't take much. Extra content such as what if mode or the challenges have been significantly downgraded to the point where they feel like an afterthought. And the music is still pretty good. Yeah, okay, you run along, you shouldn't be here, sweetheart. All of these aspects come together to make what is a very mid experience. I don't know about you all, but when I started this game, I expected the quality to at least match what came before. But alas, 'twas not to be. It also doesn't help that the game only had a year of development compared to the first game getting triple that amount. And if you know anything about game development, the less time you have a game in the oven, the more undercooked the final product will be. However, do I think Electro is a bad game?
No.
If you look at this as a standalone experience, it's a solid game, and provides players with a lot of features, unlockables, and challenging gameplay. The only problem is that the title has a 2 in it. As a sequel, it doesn't do anything that we haven't seen already, and plays everything safe to cash in on Neversoft's success. And that's why ultimately, I believe that's what makes Electro a disappointing mid-sequel. Nah, I'm lying. The playing level is the main reason why this game is mid.
I'm sorry, guys. Am I late for the party? Nothing but net.